Hello, this is Joe Pryor, the virtual real estate team in Oklahoma, and I've got my little 1-year-old here. This is Marcel, our new toy poodle. He's been a joy and he wants to join us in the video. And this is a two-parter as we end 2023. The first video, of course, is looking back at this year. And then my second video is some predictions and thoughts about 2024. But you know, ever since COVID hit in 2020, every year has been unusual. It's been, a whole different thing than I ever remember in my 35 years of real estate. There was kind of a hangover of people buying and paying too much money for houses from 2020. So, the first quarter of 2023 was very, very difficult for realtors, very, very difficult for me as someone that handles investors, because builders really didn't want to deal with us. They still had a lot of sales. And the one thing I know about builders is that, first of all, they have big egos. In fact, if you think realtors have big egos, compared to builders, we're nothing. The second thing is I find builders are mostly backward looking. In other words, they don't anticipate what's going to be going on in the future, and they think it's always going to be great. And so they really didn't want to deal with investors. And so prices were going up, but also rates were going up like crazy. As we all know, there were, every month it seemed like there was a rate increase or 2 rate increases. And so where we had these low COVID rates, then we were up in the 7s and 8s, 8.5%. If you were an investor trying to buy a house with a 30-year Fannie Mae mortgage. And so it was extremely difficult, but things started to kind of turn around just a little bit. Mainly because they weren't hitting their numbers. Things started to slow down. This is especially true for the fourth quarter. So what we saw in September and in October, all of a sudden builders wanted to deal with us. There were some price reductions. There were some special deals, closing cost allowances, extras thrown in on houses. And all of a sudden it was like, hey, Joe, where you been, buddy? You're our best friend. Where maybe a year ago, they couldn't remember what my name was. So what happens with these national builders is they get pressure, all right, on the local scene because, hey, you're not making our numbers. You've got to do something about this, because they're paid bonuses at the end of the year based on their production. And so if they don't make that production, they could be fired. And so all of a sudden we saw national builders being a little bit more open about things. Then when it comes to independent builders have banks. National builders basically have Wall Street, but local builders have banks, and the banks put pressure on them. And believe me, if they have a decent sized inventory of homes that are not selling, it could be $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 that the bank says you got to bring, all right, and reduce your debt. And so all of a sudden they get more optimistic about, hey, investors are really, really good. And so we've been able to do a lot of things here in the fourth quarter that we haven't done before. Now, I'm hoping that 2024 is going to be a different year. I hope it's going to be a more normal year. We know that, and I'll talk about this more in the next video, that in December, Jerome Powell of the Fed said, we're pausing, we're not going to do another rate increase, and got dovish and said, we're going to have not 2 decreases next year, but we're going to put 3 on the table. It's helped the stock market. Thank you very much. I like my stock portfolio at this point, but it's also helping housing because, yes, even without reducing the rates and with that language, things started going down in terms of mortgage rates. And that's going to carry forward in 2024. I'm glad 2023 is over. I'm glad COVID, I hope to a great extent, is over. I'm looking forward to 2024, and I'm going to give some predictions about it and some ideas, especially the things that you should do in the fourth quarter, and also throw in a few troubling statistics, not necessarily for investors, but for people wanting to buy a home to live in.